Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
Hey beautiful people, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel. Today's video, a lot of women came out to talk about the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to them, and they are very interesting. I would love you all to sit down, relax, and let's watch this video together. But if you have any stupid thing that a man has mansplained to you, put it down in the comment section and let others hear from you as well. So let's go ahead and watch today's video together.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you. I'll go first. I was 20 years old when my ex explained to me what a pillow is used for. He told me that the pillow is used to support your neck and your head. I was also a feature speaker at a poetry night, and a man came up to me and explained to me what I meant by the title of my poetry collection. And he was wrong, and I told him that he was wrong, and he said, "No, I think this is what you were trying to get at." And I was like, "No, you're wrong." And he did not believe me, even though it was a title I created for a work of poems that I wrote. Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
He mansplained my job to me. So it was a social function, it was a cigar and whiskey night, and I was at a table with a group of people I'd never met. And one of them was a tall man in a suit with business cards made out of metal. Anyway, when he was done talking about his job, they asked me what I did. So I said, "I'm a voiceover artist." And the guy was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm an announcer. Record my voice for TV and radio commercials, all that stuff." And he was like, "Oh yeah, can I hear a sample?" I feel like at this point, it's important to note that he was a 6-foot-tall American man, and I am a 5'6" Filipino woman. Anyway, so I did a short sample. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand launch of the Cigar and Whiskey Bar." Something like that. And he was like, "Hey, your English is pretty good, but this is actually how you do it. I've had 4 years in college radio." So I said, "Oh, well, that's a really good try. Good job." So of course he got pissed and he was like, "Well, what are your credentials?" And I was like, "Oh, I've been in the voiceover industry for 20 years, but 4 years of college radio is great."
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you. I'll go first.
I went on a date one time with a man a few years ago, and the topic of what we were reading currently came up. And I explained I was reading the book Men Explaining Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit, which, by the way, must read, was amazing. But anyway, off topic. And I explained to him it's kind of the book that coined the term or popularized the term mansplaining. And he was like, "Oh yeah, what does the book say it is?" So I told him, and then he goes, "Yeah, I don't think that's what mansplaining means." And so I kind of like laughed and was like, "Are you mansplaining the word mansplaining to me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess I am." And then he proceeded to tell me for the next 10 minutes what he thought mansplaining was, even though I'd read the book that defined mansplaining.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained.
1979. I'm going to put a down payment on my own house. I'm walking on cloud. I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm taking the keys. I don't want to open the car. I go to the car. I see it's no gasoline in the car. I go to a gas station. I take the gal. This is $20. I numero 7. The guy behind me, see, she doesn't talk so good English. Hey, miss, do you know to put gasoline? I said to myself, what an idiot, what an asshole. I just moved the car. I don't know to put. But I played dummy and he put the gasoline for me. And all of a sudden he became like a macho and he's telling me, "My name is Carter. You want to go out for dinner?" Listen, Carter, piece of shit. You better buzz off. You are talking to the wrong tree. I'm buying now my own house. So better luck next time. You better go to the lake, idiot.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
When I was in high school, a good friend caused her own death by carbon monoxide poisoning. When I was in college, my mother was killed in a car crash, and my dad died of a broken heart shortly after. I had a series of reproductive losses by miscarriage. I had a good friend cause her own death by gunshot. Another died from an aneurysm, a third to breast cancer, another to stroke, and of course there's been heart attacks. My brother-in-law died of COVID. And my husband died 3 years ago of lung cancer. My master's thesis is on grief and bereavement. I've written a book. My doctorate is in clinical psychology. And yet a man told me I didn't really understand grief, and he explained it to me. Who has he lost in his own life? His dog died when he was 12.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
So a man took me to get tacos. Cute little date, little vibe. I'm eating the chips before we get our meal. I'm dipping it in the salsa. And he's like, do you like the salsa? And I was like, yeah, I do. It's good. He's like, do you know that if you like the salsa, you can actually also put that on your tacos? And I was like, yeah, I'm aware of how salsa works for different. Why are you telling me this? He's like, well, I just didn't know if you'd know that, like, it's not just for the chips. You can also put it on whatever else you'd like. This man then proceeded to drive me home and say, do you know White Iverson? He has the song Post Malone.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
So I was writing on a show once, and we did a table read to go through all the sketches that was written, and a man turns to me and explains why one of the sketches was funny that I wrote, and I just said, oh, yeah, I'm glad you understood the jokes I wrote. Now I don't have to explain them. Good job.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
Some years ago, I was studying for my second set of boards to become a double board certified OBGYN and maternal fetal medicine specialist. I happened to meet a guy. We were kind of into each other, but I explained to him, hey, I'm studying for my boards. I don't have a whole lot of time to be dating. Okay, we could just hang out every now and then. That's what he did. And I had to turn him down several times if I was too busy studying. Until one night, he called me over to his house because he wanted to talk to me about something. He said, we're going to have to stop seeing each other because you're not giving me what I need. So I said, okay. As I was leaving, he wanted to add one more thing. He said to me, you're never going to find a man because you're just too successful. He said that I needed to tone down my success because men needed to feel like they were the most successful in order to be able to provide for their families.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
So I'm a certified athletic trainer. I did my master's thesis on concussion in sport. I deal with it every day. Elbow, apple, carpet, saddle, bubble. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So I know them in and out. I was standing on the sideline of a football game. Guy gets hit. He kind of goes down, does a whiplash type of counter coup type of mechanism. And I just see a light go out in his eyes. He does not look like he's there. So I immediately go over to him. I'm going to pull him off to do a quick eval when a coach literally steps in front of me, says, no, I was standing right there. I saw him. He didn't get hit in the head. I said, I know, but he hit his head on the ground. You don't have to get directly hit in the head to have a concussion. He says, no, that's not true. I played football all my life. I know. This guy literally is body checking me, will not let me do a concussion eval on this kid. Keeps bringing up how he's played football all his life, so he knows. I said, are you a medical professional?
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
Men talking about their experiences with psychedelic drugs. I was once listening to a guy talk about his experience with shrooms, and he literally said to me, and I just realized that we should all be nice to each other. The rest of us figured that out without drugs.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you. I'll go first.
So I work in the sport industry, and I studied sport management in college. And in one of my classes, our assignment was to come up with a new way of doing college athletics and admitting student athletes. So I suggested that we do a combine, similar to what they do for the NHL or NBA. And one of my group project members didn't believe that I knew what combines are, even though I had just suggested it. So he very condescendingly explained it to me and then said that he didn't trust me to present on that because I'm a girl and I've never participated in one. And I was like, well, neither have you, you haven't declared for a draft, he wasn't even a student athlete. He got real quiet. Flash forward a few years, we're in the workforce. I'm operating a combine as a member of the NBA staff, and he was asking me for a job.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
One time this guy tried to explain to me that women's vaginas are just one giant labia. And I told him, well, actually, women have two pairs of labias, labia majora and the labia minora. He doubled down and told me that I was wrong and that it's incredibly dangerous that sexually active women like myself don't have a basic understanding of our own bodies.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you. I'll go first.
I don't know if this counts, but this one time this guy was telling me something and I was like, I don't think that that's correct. And he looked at me and he said, well, I'm very well read and I have an IQ of 130. And that prompted the best comeback of my life. I said, sir, number one, do not flex being well read on an English major. I read dissertations for fun. Number two, do not flex having a high IQ on me when I was in my school's gifted students program. The minimum IQ requirement for that is 130. Your high IQ is my bare minimum. He didn't want to talk after that. I don't know why.
Ditch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you. I'll go first.
I once had a male coworker tell me that by putting my body out there on the internet, men weren't going to take me very seriously. And then when I tried to explain to him that I'm literally doing this for everybody but men, like men are literally the last person on my list that I hope my content reaches, he told me that that was misguided because men are really in control of a lot of things, so I need men on my side. Seriously. I'm a fat lesbian who preaches body positivity and smashing the patriarchy to the girls, gays and theys. Do you know what? If a straight cis man stumbles across my profile, then I hope he gets educated. But other than that, move on.
Ditch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
So a little bit of backstory here. I'm 7 months pregnant, and at 20 weeks I posted a bump update, and I had a guy message me and say that it's disgusting that I'm flaunting my weight gain. And I was like, dude, I'm pregnant. And he's like, no, women's bodies aren't supposed to get bigger when you're pregnant. Your body is equipped with the room to carry an entire child, and that any weight gain or swelling is because you're eating your cravings and you're being unhealthy and hurting your child. I pray that this man never reproduces.
Ditch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you.
Preface this with I hate heights and I paint murals, so that tells you how smart I am. While up on this 10-foot ladder, lining and painting these incredibly crisp, sharp letters for the Ghost Harbor Creative mural 40 feet down the side of the building, Macho Man Maintenance Marcus comes out from the next fucking building and tells me that the brush I'm using to make very, very exact curves with my almost superhuman hand-eye coordination that allows me to do projects like that, because I'm built different, isn't small enough for the accuracy I'm gonna need. I should be using a more narrow brush. So I said, yeah, buddy, you got one? And he said, no. Let us dedicate ourselves to outpacing their audacity with obnoxiousness.
If you're here, definitely you're enjoying this video. Don't forget to like it, share and subscribe and all of that good stuff. I found it very, very interesting, and you all notice that these men try to make you feel like they are better than you. You don't know nothing. You cannot be better than me because I am a man. And it's so shocking because they don't even know anything. Let me know in the comment section what a man has mansplained to you. The stupidest thing he has. Let me know that in the comment section. I wish I could share my own, but my brain is not braining right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about this video. Thank you so much for sticking around to this point. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.